Hey, good morning. My name is Seafood Dave Charlesworth from KAJUKENBO Napoli here in Naples, Italy. I wanted to make a video today about something near and dear to our hearts, and that's standards. Um, and specifically, I want to talk about the KSDI Board of Advisors and the standards for promotion to eighth and ninth degrees. So with that said, just to preface this video, I know that, we've made quite a few videos here in recent past and things like that, where we talked about some standards and promotions and things like that. And most recently, there's been a video that came out here talking about standards and gatekeeping in KAJUKENBO and things like that. And I just wanted to share kind of my personal opinion here real quick on promotions in KAJUKENBO. And I think essentially it just boils down to, for the most part, uh, promotions are at the discretion of the instructor, with the exception of eighth and ninth degrees within KSDI, as put out by the BOA. With that said, there's plenty of people out there that are grandmasters and professors and that are not recognized by the BOA. And apparently that's okay, and that's okay with them. That's okay with the BOA. There's 10th degrees out there. There's been at least 4 10th degree promotions in the last 2 years um, that I know of, or well, I don't know if it's the last 2 years or the last 3 years. I mean, recent years, there's been at least four promotions to 10th degree. Um, which she just said no more 10th degrees. And then when we ask about it, the KSTI BOA says, well, we don't recognize that 10th degree. So there you go. But what I wanted to do is just talk a little bit about this, right? Because essentially there's been a lot of consultation. There's a lot of people that are, not minding their own business and they're going to, at other people for the promotions that they make. Which I guess, if I promote somebody that doesn't deserve to be promoted, I own that. My reputation with you may follow me for that. Um, but we all have different belt requirements. We all have different standards. There is no universal standard amongst all of KAJUKENBO for what you must know to get each of your belts. And that's set individually by each instructor, you know. So with that said, it should be up to each instructor and what they do, except with the exception, of course, like I said, of the eighth and ninth degree promotions by the BOA. And those promotions can also be somewhat political and somewhat skewed by personal opinions regarding the individuals and whether or not they've met the requirements. Now, the requirements are pretty basic, and I'm about ready to show those to you. And there is no real published information, for the most part, except for what's on Facebook. And I think I did find these requirements actually on another organization's webpage, and not the KSDI's. But there is a section on there on that guy's webpage for the BOA. So I don't remember off the top of the head what it's called, but it's out there. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and get into this. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you because I've taken some screenshots and things like that I wanted to share in support of talking about standards and what the BOA requires of us to make eighth and ninth degree in KAJUKENBO. So with that said, we'll go ahead and start with this. This is oh, I don't think it's good. There it is. Okay, so it looks like it's up. Okay. So essentially, what I'm looking at here is I'm looking at the original. It's printed on a certificate here, Board of Advisors for Sergio Adriano di Imperato, and it talks about, okay, here's the 5 members with 2 alternates. Okay, since this, we've actually grown to 9 members with 2 alternates. But if you look at the original board members, there's only, let's see, 1, 2, 3 that are still alive. The rest have passed and no longer with us. Um, but you can glean some information from looking at this certificate, okay? So the Board of Advisors, as it says on the certificate, will be responsible for screening potential KSDI members being promoted to professor or grandmaster. CJO will give the final yes or no, and CJO has the authority to supersede the Board of Advisors. For example, if the Board of Advisors recommends someone, CJO can still say no. or vice versa, obviously. Okay. And it's signed by Sijo. Okay. So that, as far as I know, is really the only documentation. I'd be interested to know if there's any kind of bylaws or any other information that supports this other than what's come up with by the board themselves and posted on their website. So with that said, we're going to move on to the next slide, and this shows who the current voting members are of the KSDI BOA. Okay, so we've got Grandmaster Jesse Corpus, who's the chairman, and he's also from the Ramos lineage. We have Senior Grandmaster Rick Kinchi, who's the senior liaison from the Leonin lineage. Senior Grandmaster Gary Forback, Sergeant Arms from the Reyes lineage. Grandmaster Woody Sims is the secretary from the Ordenaz liaison and Ramos lineage. Senior Grandmaster Frank Carriaga is a member of the Halbuna lineage. Grandmaster Ron Esteller is a member of the Gaylord lineage. Grandmaster Clarence Luna is a member of the Imperato lineage. And Grandmaster Christian Wolf, member of Wunhapu Do. Senior Grandmaster Al de la Cruz from Chun Fa. And some associate members and alternates when needed for voting. Grandmaster Tammy Whalen and Grandmaster Augustin Campos Lopez. Okay, so moving right along here, this is a picture of most of the group. I believe Christian Wolf is the only one missing from this picture. And I think we have Carlos Boone down here all the way on the left there, who's a prior member of the BOA. Okay, so next page. Note from Rick Kinchi that went along with that picture says each member represents a different branch of Kajukembo and is still actively teaching at their schools, does seminars. Each has black belts. They taught from white belt to black belt and has 2 downloadings of black belts. Each has over 40 active years in Kajukembo, and they represent Sijo's KSDI. So that's the statement he made along with that picture, but I'm going to show you here in a minute that's not true. Not each of those meets the requirements. So we'll go ahead and move on to the next slide. And this is the list of black belts that Rick Kinchi posted to the BOA website. Here's the list of recognition of Kajukembo black belts that have met Sijo's requirements. And this is as of December 3rd of 2023. So this is just over 4 months ago. This was posted. Now, not everybody may be on here, may or may not be 100% correct. However, it'll give us a pretty good idea of who is and who is not listed on here. And it's pretty interesting when you go through this list of people, some big names in Kajukembo that aren't on here, and leadership of different organizations who are not on here but are grandmasters, including the KSDI. So, it might be kind of normal, I think, for, some people to think, well, this is only for KSDI. Well, yes and no. It's kind of going, it is that way originally. I mean, if you look at the original certificate, it said for KSDI, the Board of Advisors. So, it is what it is. Okay. So we'll go ahead and move on, and I want to take a look at this. So what do you have to do to get on this list? Okay. Well, here's the requirements that are listed here. So for an 8th degree professor, okay, in either the original Imperato method or other branches of Kajukembo. So that's kind of an interesting statement, and that's on both 8th and 9th degrees. And it says original Imperato method, which originally the KSDI was original Imperato method and only original Imperato method. Although I do believe that at one point in time, Sijo did desire for all of Kajukembo to become a member of his organization, which was the KSDI. So with that said, I don't know if that statement was added as a mode to include the rest of us that aren't original method, or in an effort to impose these requirements on the rest of us. So either way, here's the requirements for professor: minimum of 30 years in Kajukembo. You need to be active in teaching and promoting in the Kajukembo system. You need to have a downline of black belts. So you have to have a black belt to be a professor in Kajukembo. A letter of recommendation from your instructor, approval from the Board of Advisors, and attendance at the KSDI event to receive your promotion. at the annual event, and a photo, and a recent photo at that. So for ninth degree Grandmaster, in the original Imparato method or other branches of Kajukembo, a minimum of 40 years in Kajukembo, active in teaching and promoting in the Kajukembo system. Okay, so being active in Kajukembo is an important requirement to be promoted to 8th and ninth degrees. And I would think also for lower degrees, as if you're not active, then what are you doing during that promotion? It makes sense. Downline of 2 generations of black belts. So not only having a black belt, but your black belts must have a black belt. Okay, a letter of recommendation from your applicant's instructor. So there is an asterisk here that gives us an exception where they will consider applicants for promotion for those that don't have a recommendation from their instructor because of death of instructor or abandoned by the instructor. Apologize for that screenshot. I believe I cut part of that off where it says from death of instructor or being abandoned by your instructor. And it says abandoned would be a rare case, such as, them being hospitalized, incapacitated, and in jail, that sort of thing, or what have you. And I have seen a couple of instances like that. In fact, I've been affected by one of those instances. So, with that said, and then of course it shows there's a fee for the promotion to cover the cost of the certificate. With that said, we'll go ahead and move on now to the next slide, and we're going to start talking a little bit about some things here. Okay, and I did mention that there was somebody that doesn't meet those qualifications on the BOA. Okay, and I'm going to walk through that here. The reason I say that is based off of what I found in preparing for this video, looking on the KAJUKENBO family tree, it's blatant. So with that said, I'm going to show you what I used here. I used the KAJUKENBO family tree from 2022. This is the frame version that I have in my home. So that's the reason for showing that. And then I went through the KSDI BOA website and I pulled off the BIOS for each of the members that I could find on here. Okay, so you can go through here. You can take a look at this. Feel free to go to the BOA website, take a look. You can read about each one of these individuals and get a sense for what they've accomplished in KAJUKENBO when they started KAJUKENBO. And it goes through a lot of their accolades and things like that. Okay, so for example, here we have Grandmaster Jesse Corpus, who was introduced to KAJUKENBO in 1971. Well, that's more than 40 years ago, so check. And then, of course, it goes through and talks about a lot of his accomplishments and things like that. So clearly been around a while, clearly done a lot. Checking the block for Jesse Corpus. So then we go over and we take a look at Jesse Corpus's on the family tree. And you take a look, there's all of his black belts, and then you look, his black belts have black belts. So checking the block. Good to go. All right, so then we'll move over to the second member on the list, and I'm doing these in the order that they were listed as board members, not any other particular reason why I'm going in this order. Okay, so then we'll take a look at the next member here, which is Senior Grandmaster Rick Kenji. Okay, he's the second oldest member on the board of advisors, Rick Kenji. Okay, he's been involved in KAJUKENBO since I believe in 1962. Yeah, 1962. Under great grandmaster Carlos Bunda. Okay, so there you have it. And he learned his black belt 60. So he's been a black belt for longer than 40 years. He's actually coming up on being involved in KAJUKENBO for I think 60 something years. So checking the block there. Okay, and then you look at the family tree. Wow, look at all them black belts. Okay, and look at all his black belts that have black belts. So checking the block there, no doubt that that he was good. Okay, so then we'll move on to our next member of the BOA. And I figured that there'd be no better way than to just kind of illustrate these requirements than by going through, the BOA members themselves. Okay. So you take a look here. And let's see. Oh, and I don't think I mentioned this, but Hmm. When I was looking at the list of approved people that have met the requirements, the only people on the BOA that are listed on that list. Okay, let me back up here for a sec because I think I forgot to talk about this. This list right here that was posted by Rick Kenji. The only BOA members that are on that list are Jesse Corpus and Frank Carriaga, along with the two alternates, Tammy Whalen and Augustus Campos Lopez. Granted, I guess you could assume that since they're BOA members, they're good to go, but they're not on that list. So, and I did ask about that, but unfortunately, I got no reply. So with that said, okay, we'll keep going here. So we've got bio for Grandmaster Forback. He's been around for a long time. 1966 under Grandmaster Aleju Reyes. Uh, yeah, he's definitely over 40 years. He's coming up on 60 something too. So he's been around. And of course, you've probably seen Gary Forback, with that famous hairdo of his, and many of the videos with Joe that have circulating online. So he's been around a while, and of course, he's got the WKO videos and things like that. If you don't have your copy yet, it's a great thing to have in your toolbox. Reach out to Gary Forback, and he'll get those to you for a reasonable cost. So with that said, we'll go ahead and move on to the family tree. He's got a very large section of it. He's got a lot of black belts underneath him, and a lot of his black belts have black belts. So checking the block. Okay, so next member we got is Grandmaster Woody Sims. Okay, so he's been around Kajukembo for a little while as well. He's actually listed on the family tree, I believe twice. Let's see, under Bautista. Let's see. I lost that there, but he's been around for a while. If you look through here, you can see right here, 82. Uh, yeah, he's been around for a long time. So he meets the 40-year requirement, and then he's listed here. I think it was in our email by Tistas where he got his black belt. But he's got all of his black belts are listed up here under the ordinance section of the count family tree. And let's see, black belts have black belts, so there you go. Okay, so checking the block for Woody Saps. Okay, with that said, next bio we got is Frank Carriaga. He's been around for a long time. Began his training in 1968 after a stint in the Navy. Thank you for your service, sir. I also was in the Navy. And yeah, he's been around for over 40 years, so good to go there. And you can look at his accolades here. He was also on the Cijo's Kajukembo demo team. Did a lot of things with that and did a lot of good things to promote Kajukembo around the world. I think I might have clicked more than once. Nope, there he is. There's Frank Carriaga here on the family tree. And he's got black belts that have black belts, so checking the block there. Okay, next bio we have is Grandmaster Ron Esteller. Ron Esteller began his training in 1967 in the TKD program at Shabbat College, but found his home in Gaylord Method in 1968. Okay, so 1968 until now, that's more than 40 years. So that's checking a block for the time requirement. And it lists a few things here. Let's see. Okay, well, you can read his bio there. Okay, and then we go to Ron Esteller on the family tree. So here's Ron Esteller. He's got a lot of black belts underneath him, but he has no black belts that have black belts. So that to me is concerning. I don't want to take away from his accomplishments and his contribution to Kajukembo, but the requirements state you have to have second generation black belts. I'm getting there. Ninth degree, downline of 2 generations of black belts. And that's also where I said this statement was incorrect because they don't each have 2 downlines of black belts. So with that said, moving on. Okay, so we have Grandmaster Clarence Luna. Go ahead and zoom in so we can see what's going on here. Okay. In the early 70s, he was inspired to learn firsthand from Sijo, who founded and created KAJUKENBO. Okay, this is family here. So he learned it as being part of the Imperato family. Okay, so he's been around for more than 40 years. And Clarence Luna, there's his section on the tree. And he's got black belts that have black belts. So good to go. Okay, next member we got here to talk about is Grandmaster Christian Wolf. I was unable to find a bio on Christian Wolf because it's not posted in the BOA Facebook page. However, if you look here, he's under Al DeCoscos. And let's see, there he is. 1979 is when he got his black belt, it looks like. I wish they still did that on the tree because that's pretty cool to see how long somebody been around and when they actually got their black belt. Yeah, Christian Wolf, if he came in at 79, he definitely meets that requirement. And you can see down here that he, on the bottom right-hand corner, that he does have black belts that have made black belts. So therefore, he meets that requirement. Okay, and then the next one on the tree, well, he didn't have a bio either, but he doesn't really need one. It's Senior Grandmaster Al de la Cruz, the legend. Him and Senior Grandmaster Al de Cascos both came up or helped Sijo create the original Toon Pai method, and then that turned into Chun Fa. I believe that was like 1957-ish, 58 maybe through 62. And then Chun Fa, I want to say, was somewhere around 64, 65-ish. Don't quote me on that. Yeah, definitely done a lot for KAJUKENBO and been around for a long time. And it's good to see he's still active and moving around and teaching KAJUKENBO. And we appreciate all you've done for us. So thank you, sir. And we'll keep on moving here. Let's see. So then we move on, and we've got Agustin Lopez Campos, who's one of the alternates. I believe this is the same guy because I believe the name's reversed. Agustin Lopez Campos Lopez is I think listed on the sheet, but it says Lopez Campos here. I think it's the same guy. If not, let me know in the comments. So with that said, same thing with Tammy Whalen. She's here listed here under Greg Ligara. And she has black belts that have black belts as well. So it looks like pretty much everybody on the list meets those standards, not all. Kind of curious. I did reach out and ask for comment on that as well. No response. It was all pretty much one email, but so with that said, it is what it is. But if you look at the list, I mean, like I said, there's not a lot of people. There's a lot of people that are in leadership positions within different organizations throughout KAJUKENBO. In fact, some of those people that actually signed the letter saying that we're all coming together as KAJUKENBO in one group, to improve communications and standards across the KAJUKENBO. Some of the people that signed that are also not listed on that list. So it is what it is. There's a big movement to kind of protect our lineage, so to speak. Um, and I really think that if we're going to go ahead and go that route, then those who are professing to do that need to also follow suit. So with that said, I don't want to turn this into a big political thing. I do want to talk, since I wanted to throw those standards out there because they're not really readily available anywhere except for on Facebook. It'd be nice to see KAJUKENBO maybe have something a little bit more official than Facebook. So with that said, I hope you all enjoyed listening to what I was sharing and some of the information I put up on my screen. I just think it's important that we all understand and we all know what the requirements are. At least from the KSDI BOA standpoint. Now, whether or not those standards apply to every other organization outside of the BOA or not are kind of in question. Way it's been explained to me is that it only applies to the BOA. And that would explain why there's so many grandmasters and professors throughout other organizations, to include leadership of those organizations who are not listed under the KSDI BOA requirements for black belt. And maybe possibly one person has made it into the BOA without actually meeting the requirements of the BOA. And I don't say that to be political. I don't say that to cast stones. I don't say that to start anything. It's an observation backed up by what's shown on the family tree. Um, so with that said, I hope you all did enjoy this commentary, and I hope that we can continue to move forward as a group in Kajukembo and share this wonderful art with the rest of the world. And I thank you for watching. If you have any comments or concerns, feel free to leave them down below. And if you got something that you think I should be talking about, I appreciate you letting me know what you'd like to hear about, and maybe I'll look into it. Like I said, I did try to do some research and ask some questions prior to making this video, but unfortunately, I didn't receive a response, and I waited 2 weeks before I published this. So I think I gave plenty enough time to provide the information that's not readily available. And I think that's probably one of the biggest problems in Kajukembo is we don't do a very good job of sharing information amongst each other. And I think we could do a better job of that. And I would encourage you all to try to do a better job of that, as well as, I'll do the same, obviously. But I do have some ideas how to make that better, and I'll probably paste that on the end of this video, or maybe make a different video to talk about that. But once again, I appreciate your time.